they ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get it.
Ooh, bacon.
Greetings, tasty morsels. It's Reverse BLT here. Welcome back to the channel. And if it's your first time here, welcome to the channel. I am about to continue my binge watch of The Sandman, one of my most anticipated shows of the year, possibly of the decade, and possibly of the past 2 decades, with episode 2, which is called Imperfect Hosts. Previous episode was all about exposition, pretty much, just sort of doing a lot of world building by tackling the first story in, I believe that was Preludes and Nocturnes, I think, was the first book in that graphic novel series, in which Dream gets captured by an occult magician who wants to capture his sister, Death, so that he can basically get his son back and get a bunch of other people's loved ones back. And he ends up, of course, capturing Dream instead, and basically they just have a standoff that lasts for his entire life and the entire life of his son, who was sort of like a classic case of someone trying to win his father's approval and failing and becoming miserable and just following in his father's footsteps and all that other sort of thing. Acting was perfect. I loved every single actor in the first episode. A lot of the visuals were absolutely amazing. I loved seeing Dream's realm and I don't know, it was so well done. I'm still racking my brain trying to figure out how they did that shot with the Raven, what's her name, Jessamine?
Close enough.
Flying through the house and everything. I can't imagine them doing that practically. If they did, bravo. But even if they didn't, still bravo, because if it was a pure CG shot, it was an impeccable CG shot. This episode is called Imperfect Hosts. I don't know if I mentioned that already. I probably did. But basically, Dream is out now, and he's off to look for his vestments, which are the items of power into which he has poured a significant portion of his potency, I guess you could say. Think of kind of like Sauron's ring, the One Ring, where it's just like it amplifies his abilities and focuses his abilities by taking specific pieces of his ability and kind of focusing them in these objects. But of course that means that whoever holds the objects possesses a portion of his ability, and while he does not have them, he is somewhat diminished. Even though obviously, as you saw in that previous episode, he is still incredibly powerful even without them, because he is one of the Endless, and the Endless are beings who are above gods. They're basically, kind of as the name would imply, they basically are the end-all and be-all of reality. But I won't get too much into that because I'm sure the show will talk about it. First episode also gave us a lot of little kind of like morsels to chew on in the background, little Easter eggs for people who've read the series, but also setting up some of the things that are coming for people who haven't read the series, but just in a way that's so subtle you're not going to really notice them. But I noticed them and I thought it was really cool, like that dollhouse that kept showing up in the background, for instance. But anyway, without further ado, let's just go ahead and continue with the series. I am just like I said, I'm just overjoyed. I love this series. It's one of my favorite graphic novel series of all time, and I am, of course, chomping at the bit to see Death show up because I am in love with her, and I'm not exaggerating about that. And anyone who says anything negative about Death is going to catch these hands.
Put 'em up. Put 'em up.
Alright. So anyway, let's just go ahead and get right into it. I think we even got a little bit of a Constantine set up in the previous episode. His beautiful realm fell apart completely while he was gone. And the dreams of sentient beings have turned twisted.
Sometime after you left, all the books in the library became bound volumes of blank paper. The next day, the whole library was gone.
Riffing a little bit on the old belief that you can't read anything in a dream. Which is not true, because I've read things in dreams plenty of times.
I knew you would return.
Lucian, you're a real one. Dream, give Lucian a promotion. So the state of an Endless's realm is obviously metaphysical, so like it kind of reflects their state of being and also the state of the essential concept that they are responsible for. So you can kind of see this as like a metaphor for how people's dreams are. Like what is the state of dreams for sentient organisms throughout reality.
Hello?
Special phone for special clients.
Quite the place you got here, Ethel.
Hello, Corinthian.
Who are you?
What do you want?
Never ask that question.
He's out of his cage and he's coming for us. You and me.
Why me? I never did anything to him.
Oh, you did though, Ethel. You stole from him.
Yep. A dream is not really the forgiving kind.
Surely it hasn't come to that.
The fates see past, present, and future, and they know all.
Kindly ones.
Perhaps just this once you could ask one of your siblings for help. Destiny would certainly know where your tools are, or Desire.
My siblings have their own realms to attend to. I have mine. We do not interfere in each other's affairs.
You may not, but they've certainly been known to.
Do it all the time.
You could tell them what happened to you.
I am quite sure they know
Proud.
what happened to
That's
me.
the problem.
Is there anything of mine that remains in the dreaming? Something that I created that might retain some fragment of my power within it? Something I can absorb.
There is one thing.
Lucian. Dragon!
Incorrect.
Are you sure? Good boy, Gregory. Good gargoyle.
For the sake of the dreaming, I must take back a gift I gave you long ago.
Yes, my lord.
What's ours is yours.
Anything at all. Just ask it. Surely there's another way.
I wish there were.
The answer is no.
I have not come here to ask you. I've come to ask Gregory. I need your help.
No. Moments like this exist just to kind of let you know that you need to be prepared for some tears in this story.
Take me instead. Or Abel.
Or Abel.
I can only reabsorb that which I created, and Gregory began as a nightmare.
He's one of us now. It's not fair.
No. It's not.
You're a very good boy.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get it.
You know, you never really need much time with an animal to feel bad about it dying.
You don't have to do this, you know.
That's another thing you have to get prepared for with this series. Metaphysics. Because I'm thinking to myself, like, is it really dying? Like, how does that really work?
You have served this kingdom with great honor. You will be missed.
I mean, in theory, restored to full strength, you should be able to remake him. guy playing Dream is pretty good. Like, I really believe that it hurt him to do that. Oh, that's some subtle CGI work. Do you see, like, the little bit of light, like, appear in his eyes?
Come, Lucian. We have work to do.
Good luck, my lord.
Simpering suck up.
Ah, you two.
In your absence, these waters have become darker, treacherous, unsafe.
Not for him.
I stand corrected.
Since one meets the fates at a crossroads, I find one in the dreams of a Cambodian farmer.
That's cool.
The hanged man represents surrender and sacrifice for the greater good. The gallows come from a young Japanese cinephile, her head full of British horror films.
Really interesting way of, like, showing what it's like to be an abstract metaphysical concept.
And see what the fates require. The three who are one. The one who is three. The
Maiden,
Hecate.
Mother, and Crone, if I remember correctly. They pretty much exist in, like, every mythology, which is interesting. You can always tell the really old concepts by that.
I had a leather pouch filled with sand. Where is it?
It was sold in London. Last purchased by a magic user called Joanna Constantine.
No, we're saying it Constantine this way? Okay.
That's how it's pronounced.
My helm. What happened to it?
It was traded away to a demon for the amulet of protection.
To which demon was it traded?
One question, one answer, love.
My ruby. Who holds it now?
Your gem was passed from a mother to a son.
Where are they now?
You asked your questions!
He's lucky they were nice to him, because they could have taken his follow-up questions as counting against his total, but they chose not to. Ah, poor Abel, always getting killed by your brother, and then getting resurrected again.
You don't listen, do you? Attractive men seldom do. I suppose they don't have to.
Ethel, are you flirting with me?
Is that the actor who plays Daredevil?
No.
You don't have to say a word.
There we go. There are those eyes.
Eyes will tell me everything. Every thought. Every feeling.
Man, it looks really good.
You think it came from Lord Morpheus?
Who else, Lackwit? He's trying to buy us off with a baby gargoyle.
Or he feels just as bad about losing Gregory as we do.
He's rather cute, isn't he?
I think I'll call him
Gregory too.
Irving.
Irving? You can't name a gargoyle Irving, you gully guts. Gargoyle names always begin with a G.
All right then. Gerving.
Gerving.
It starts with a G.
And
It doesn't have to be Gerving.
clonk.
Goldie's.
I tell you, Kane, you need to stop killing your brother.
Hello, Johnny.
Hey, it's Mr. Weasley.
Close, but no.
You've come a long way. I'm proud of you.
Are you trying to convince me or yourself?
I'm trying to have a conversation with my son.
Not Mr. Weasley. Lupin. That's who he played. Getting my Harry Potter actors confused.
We need to talk about the ruby.
That'd be such a nightmare for me, my claustrophobia. He does bury him pretty shallow, though. I have to admit that.
I'll call you Goldie for Kane's sake, but I think of you as Irving, really, in my heart. It's a story about two brothers who loved each other very, very much. And they were very nice to each other, nice and kind and brotherly, you know? And the elder brother never harmed the younger brother, ever. And they didn't live in different houses, they lived together in the same house. And they'd be happy. I don't mind getting murdered, honestly. If that's what makes Kane happy, then, hey, what are brothers for, eh, little brother? Shall we say good morning to Kane? Oh, I'll be fine. He never normally murders me before lunch. He's not much of a morning person, like me.
All the graves.
Take a raven with you.
No more ravens.
Dream of the endless always has a raven.
Jessamine was the last. If this Constantine is anything like her ancestor, she will serve me well enough. She is only human.
As was Roderick Burgess.
Point.
No.
Need to listen to Lucian.
What could possibly go wrong?
Famous last words. It's the last place you wanted to be, isn't it, buddy?
I am leaving, and I am never coming back.
He will come after you.
Well, then if he does, he won't be coming back either. You can't change him. You can't save him either.
I like Corinthians' theme. It's a really interesting, disjointed kind of... I don't know how to describe it, but definitely seems to carry the right tone for him. I like that episode. When I saw how short it was going to be, I was wondering how they were going to fit a story into such a short period, but they managed to do a really good job, actually. Didn't have much fat in it, so moved along very quickly. So I guess I was right about the purpose of like front-loading the exposition in the first episode, because this episode really did move along quite quickly. So we got to see, you know, the next stage of sort of like, I guess, the bridge to Dream's mission out there in the world, like his actual goals now. Going out and recovering what they're calling his tools, his vestments, so that he can restore himself to full power. We have a merging of characters, because I know that, you know, they're going to say Constantine, so I'm going to have to get myself used to saying Constantine. I've always called him Constantine. But there are two characters. There's an ancestor of his, Joanna Constantine, and then there's, you know, John Constantine, the one that I think more people are probably familiar with. And in the original graphic novels, Dream ends up dealing with both of them, but it looks like for the series they just kind of merged them. And it makes sense that they went with Joanna instead of John, because if I remember correctly, he deals more with Joanna in the graphic novel than he does with John. And probably DC hasn't quite decided how they want to use John Constantine yet. Man, that feels so weird to say Constantine instead of Constantine.
Goddamn Americans.
I think they want to kind of leave a full scale, like, look, it's John Constantine for later, when they've figured out exactly how they want to use the character going forward. So they're just going to use the character that, in this particular story, Dream actually dealt with more, and just roll in the other stuff that he dealt with John for. But yeah, it was really cool, like seeing his meeting with the Fates. I had to stop myself there because I almost said something I shouldn't. And you know, I always love seeing how different you know, visual interpretations of the Fates work. I thought they did a really cool thing here where they really did represent how they were three people but one person at the same time. How, like, you know, depending on how you were looking at them and what, you know, what the level of the shot was, you could see three people, but then they're talking and like literally mid-sentence it's a different person. That was pretty cool. And again, I'd like to remind you to think about the fact that, like, he technically asked like 6 questions. They could have taken his follow-up questions as, you know, satisfying the limitation, and they chose not to. That is worth thinking about. Like, why did they choose to give him a little bit of leeway there? And of course, it was fun seeing Cain and Abel. I chuckled at them in the graphic novel series as well. So like the way that works is, so they're not the literal Cain and Abel, which should be obvious to anyone since there was no literal Cain or Abel. It's a fairy tale.
Shun the non-believer. Shun.
But, like, you know, Dream's realm, of course, is a realm of fairy tales, stories, myths, all that kind of stuff. So basically anything the humans sort of made up throughout time could exist in this realm, which is why those brothers exist. But they're bound to whatever the parameters of their mythology or the stories they come from are. So every day, basically, Abel gets killed by Cain, gets buried, and I think, you know, like every morning he, you know, revives and crawls out of his grave, which is funny. I had forgotten about the gargoyle, though.
There might be a reason for that.
And so it hit me extra hard in the feels when, you know, when I guess the bit of the story started to come back, and I was like, oh yeah. And plus, you know, they wisely played up the idea of sort of Gregory as being a bit like a puppy dog, and we can never handle watching the puppy dog die, can we? It was really cool, like, catching up with Ethel, and, you know, the guy playing a Corinthian is doing such a good job of being like that sort of like subtly dangerous, creepy kind of vibe, whereas like you just get the feeling that at any moment he might kill you and that he'd be pretty much perfectly able to do so. And you just don't know when it's going to happen. But of course we got to see why Ethel was completely unfazed by him the entire time, because she had the ultimate amulet of protection. Like, nothing can hurt her. It's really cool seeing how they're capturing the vibe of the graphic novel series, and, you know, the way they're interpreting the dreaming. You know, a lot of it really is very much ripped from the page, like especially when Dream like dropped the sand in and you saw like the sky turn into these incredible display of like galaxies and stuff. You know, very much like his realm in the off the page, and it's just going to be really interesting. Like, there's some stuff coming up, you know, like when he goes to get his helm back. Oh my goodness, I love that whole arc that starts with that. It's going to be fun watching him interact with Constantine, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Easter eggs they drop there and everything. But anyway, I'm going to stop before I just ramble.
Too late.
I am definitely digging this series. The pacing was much improved this episode, and I'm hoping that it will stay basically like this since we got most of the exposition out of the way in episode 1 going forward. But let me know what you guys thought of the episode, and also, you know, let me know how many of you guys have actually read the graphic novels, how many of you are coming into this fresh. I am going to do my best to not actually spoil you about anything. I may drop a few hints here and there, but you know, I really try pretty hard not to give any information that would actually let you figure out what's going to happen down the road, because I hate it when people do that to me, so I'm going to try not to do that with you. But anyway, thanks so much for joining me, guys. I really appreciate it. And as always, do me a favor and do your best to stay safe and be well. And I shall see you for the next one. Bye-bye.
Dolor, Igneo, Animus.
We have a winner. It's the Buckners, ladies and gentlemen. The Buckners pull the W.